We are going to take 5 deep controlled breaths that will follow along with my 4 count. You will breathe in while I count to 4, making sure you take the air into your belly too, not just your chest. You can be sure this is happening by pushing your belly out while you take the air within. We will then hold our breath momentarily until you hear the instruction to release your breath. When you release the breath, it too will be to a controlled 4 count. Make sure you use your belly to expel the air within by contracting your stomach to push out the air. Make sure you are comfortable, and let's begin. Take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it. And release. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4. In. 1, 2, 3, 4. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4. In. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, resume a normal mode of breathing. You will listen to the sound of my voice. Any noise outside of this meditation that is heard will only serve to place you into a deeper state of relaxation. Now envision a small orb of glowing light blue energy floating just above your head. This light blue energy begins to trickle down upon you, not only covering your outside, but filling you with energy on the inside too. As the light rains down upon your head and face, the muscles in your face and forehead completely relax. The light continues down into your neck and shoulders, and again, as it fills these areas, the muscles begin to completely relax. The light continues down through your arms and into your wrists and hands, and as it does, the muscles in these regions completely relax. The light now moves on through your lower back and belly, bringing forth complete relaxation to those areas. The light now moves downwards through your thighs, buttocks, and hips, and as it does so, those areas are completely relaxed. The light now moves on into your legs, covering your knees, calves, ankles, and feet. These extremities are now completely relaxed. You are now completely relaxed and breathing normally. Let's begin. In the center of the room, we see a well in the floor. Build this image strongly. A circular well in the center of the room with a shallow rim. Now it becomes substantial as we look upon it, and we see that many fine roots are gripping the edge of the well, mingled deep into its fabric. These roots hold a fascination for us, and we long to look closely at them. We rise and gather around the well, and one by one lean over and look within. The fine roots lead away into the depths below, lit by a blue-green light. We see that as they stretch away from us, the roots thicken, leading into an indistinct brown shape that seems to float upon blue-green light below. At first, the sight is blurred, as if something floats half submerged in hazy waters. Suddenly, the image clarifies, and we realize that we are looking upon a tree. This tree is of such immense size that we could not register its image at first. It grows in reverse within the well, its roots around and within the rim, its crown far below. We follow the shape of the roots, leading our sight to a long brown and green trunk, leading deeper still to a huge spread of branches and leaves, far, far below. The blue-green light is reflected up through the leaves from an unseen source in the depths. We look for some time upon this inverted tree, with its roots in our world, and its crown far below in the light. This is one of the trees of transformation, an inverted tree leading to another world. We know that if we wish to reach that world, we must climb the tree, from its roots to its crown, ever downwards. One by one, we affirm our intent to travel the tree and climb over the edge of the well. At first, the way is difficult, but as we progress, it becomes easier with the widening roots supporting us as we descend. When we reach the wide platform where the roots emerge from the trunk, we pause and look below. The broad tree trunk stretches away beneath us, with immense branches growing out of it at intervals. This is the way that we must travel to the realm below. We see the branches spread out into an immense crown with shimmering silver and green leaves in constant motion, and below that, a green blur of light that confuses our sight when we try to focus upon it. Now, we climb onto the trunk, and we find that deep folds and grooves in the bark make movement possible, giving foot and handholds before we reach the first great branches. One by one we climb onto the trunk and feel the massive strength of the tree support us in our descent. Now we look up and see for the first time that above us is a curious sky. It's seized with purple, blue, and silver colors, with lines of light moving to and fro across it. Directly above our heads as we look up is a circular hole in the sky, the roots of the tree disappearing into it. This hole is muddy brown and black, as if the roots penetrate into a circular bed of earth above. Now, we descend the trunk and find that the way is increasingly easy. As we reach the great branches, a feeling of balance and lightness flows through us, as if we have left superfluous weight behind. Now we can see beyond the crown of branches and realize that the green blur is a flat grassy plain far below. As we climb down, the branches and leaves gradually hide this plain from us until we see nothing but the tree around us. Deeper into the crown, we feel a crisp, cool wind blowing around us, invigorating and exciting. Now we are upon the slimmest branches, amid a vast cloud of rustling, seething leaves glittering in the brilliant light. Suddenly, we realize that the grassy plain is only a short jump away, and one by one we let go of the branches. We fall lightly to the ground, and as our feet touch it, we feel a thrill, a current of power flow through us for the briefest instant. We stand at the point where the branches of the tree barely touch the land below, and for a moment look up at the great crown and trunk leading far into the sky above, vanishing into a black hole. The sky has changed color and becomes blue and silver, emitting a sourceless light that illuminates the land brightly. Now, we turn and look across the plain. It stretches away flat and green in all directions. The grass is full of tiny brilliant flowers and constantly waves to and fro, sometimes with the direction of the wind, sometimes against it. We turn into the cool wind and look out across the featureless plain. The steady flow of air makes our eyes water, and we turn our backs to the wind and look in the opposite direction. Far across the plain, we see a mound. It seems to be a low grassy mound with no distinguishing features. We know that we must walk towards this mound, and one by one set out with the wind at our backs. As we move towards the mound, our progress is fast. We find that we speed across the ground as if helped by the wind at our backs and the grassy earth beneath our feet. We are filled with deep power, as if every life energy within us is clarified, amplified, aroused. As we approach the mound, we see that it is a huge grassy hill, long and smooth, featureless as if worn by wind and rain for thousands of years. Now, we reach the foot of the mound and look up to its top. The grass and flowers flow over it without break or change, as if it has been folded up out of the plain without a break. Yet we know that we must enter into this mound, for our intent is to meet the people of the Cid, the fairy dwellers in the mound. The summit seems to flicker with a faint light from time to time, invisible if we look directly at it, yet clearly seen out of the corner of our eyes. There are no paths, no markers, and no sign of an entrance in the smooth grass wall before us. Our intent is now to walk around the mound and seek an entrance. We form this intent carefully, and one by one turn to the left and begin our walk, following the shape of the mound, traversing its length. As we walk, the wind suddenly changes direction and blows into our faces. It seems to resist our passage, but we steadily walk forward until we reach a state of balance between our motion and the wind in our faces. As we reach the far end of the long mound, the wind suddenly stops. In the stillness, we hear a faint sound, like distant music, seeming to come from the ground beneath our feet. We make a turn to our right, around the side of the hill. Suddenly, we come upon an entrance. It is a low stone box made of 2 upright slabs roofed with a third massive capstone. It juts out of the turf before us, and we step round to look inside. Within this small chamber we see someone sitting. This is the doorkeeper of the fairy mound, and for a few moments we look upon each other, beings from different worlds. The doorkeeper signals that we should enter the chamber, which is very small. We have to bend and immediately find that before us is a rough stone wall, with no further access to the hill. We look upon this wall, and as we do so, it begins to slide up into the earth above, revealing a glowing red light from within. There is a sense of urgency as it rises, and we quickly step through into the glow beyond. As we enter the mound, the red light changes into a brilliant illumination of green, blue, and white, and we find that we are standing upon a smooth stone floor inside the hill. Behind us, the stone slab lowers, closing off the gateway. We are in the Faery Hall. To our surprise, the chamber extends to our right and left, yet we entered by one end of the hill and expected it to stretch away before us. We see a roof of natural stones tightly laid together and rising in a curve. Through these huge stones, roots emerge. Although there are no trees above the mound, the brilliant light comes from flaring torches in the roots, as if certain roots are alight. The stone floor of the chamber is marked with a complex interwoven pattern, rambling in all directions, seeming to elude sense, yet full of meaning and direction. First, we look to our left and see there assembled a host of fairy beings. They are of many kinds and shapes, wearing costumes from many ages. Most are human in shape and dress, though many wear costumes of strange materials, while yet others are unlike any sort of being that we have seen before. Now we look to our right and see a great table at the far end of the hall. Behind this table are two tall thrones. One is made of rock and crystal, while the other is the huge stump of an ancient tree, still sprouting tiny branches and green shoots. Upon the rock throne sits the Fairy Queen. Upon the tree throne sits the Fairy King. We look first at the Queen. She has a white face and long flowing red and black hair. She wears a gown interlaced with veins of silver, gold, and crystal, and we see faint patterns bloom and move upon her face. Now we look upon the King. He has curling hair and beard, shot through with golden streaks. He wears a simple green tunic with a pattern of white flowers upon it, and his arms are bare. We approach the tables, and as we do so, we see the King and Queen in more detail. As we draw near to the Queen, the pattern upon her face seemed to bloom and fade, like an interlacing of faint stems and leaves. Her eyes are the fathomless eyes of a hawk. As we draw near to the King, we see that his hair and beard seem woven with glin wires or tendrils, and that his eyes are a deep green with black pupils. As we draw closer, we see their eyes change color suddenly when they focus upon us. Upon the great rough table of stone there is food and drink, cups and vessels. We are drawn to either the King or the Queen, and one by one approach whichever of the two draws us. Now we commune with the King or with the Queen in silence. We are aware that the king and the queen have exchanged something with each of us, and that we are bidden to turn and view the fairy hosts. Looking down the length of the great hall, with its burning root torches and silver green light, we realize that out of the crowd certain beings have stepped forward. We are invited to choose companions from among those that come forward to us. Look closely upon those that come forward as companions. You may choose one to be your partner, making a bond between the fairy world and our own. You need not choose whoever comes to you first, nor do you need to choose any partner at all. But you may only choose a partner from among those that come to you freely, and not from those that hold back. If you choose a fairy companion, choose carefully. If you do not choose a companion, be aware of your reasons for not choosing. Now we have chosen companions, or chose to leave without companions. The size of our company has increased, and we know that it is time to leave the Faery Hall. We walk towards the entrance stone, and when we reach it, hear the sound of wild music starting amid the fairy host. We long to stay, but know that we must leave. By the entrance stone, we see the figure of a woman in a long robe and deep hood. She holds a basket of woven reeds in one arm, and from it takes a gift for each of us as we reach the door. We cannot see her face, but we look closely upon the gift that she has given and keep it safe. Now, the door slides upwards, and we step out into the tiny chamber beyond. There are 3 steps into the door chamber, and as we step through, the light behind us seems to turn red, and we hear the sound of shrill pipes and mellow harps. The stone slab slides shut behind us, and we see that the doorkeeper is beckoning to us to hurry through the chamber and out into the land beyond. As we emerge, we feel a strong wind blowing with tiny drops of rain. It blows us back towards the tree. Looking into that direction, we see only a spiraling column of smoke, faint and changeable, where the tree should be. There is a sense of urgency about our return to the tree, and we hear many creatures scurrying and running in the grass all around us, though we see nothing. We pass at great speed across the plain, and as we travel, feel the quality of the light change. As we draw near to the tree, it suddenly snaps into view, and we arrive suddenly at the point where its huge crown almost touches the grassy plain. The branches are whipped by the rising wind, and the leaves rustle and hiss loudly. From out of the heart of the leaves and branches, 2 tall creatures step. They seem to be made of living branches, and each has a broad green leaf for a face. To each of us they come, one by one, and touch us upon the forehead. With that touch, we lose all sense of sound, and for a moment experience the life of a tree or plant. We long to reach into the soil and up into the sky to the light, and experience a sense of time that is quite different from human time. Gradually, we become aware again of the wind blowing hard upon us, and know that we must return to the human world. We climb up into the branches of the tree and begin our long ascent. The two tree creatures have disappeared, but as we climb, we are aware that our fairy companions and allies moving with us, though have no sight of them. As we climb up the great tree trunk into the roots above, the land below blurs into a blue and green cloud, and we see above us a spiraling whirlpool of black and brown into which the tree roots grow. Now, we approach that whirlpool, and it slowly ceases to spin, becoming a dark circular hole. On the other side of that hole, there is a dim gray light, and one by one we climb through the well into a familiar room. At first it seems a shadow room in a gray dream, but we return to our original starting point where we commenced our journey, and the room takes substance. Now we look upon the well and the roots growing around it in the center of the room, and it slowly fades to be replaced by the solid floor. Our journey to the Faery Realm is over, and we return to outer consciousness, realizing that we have brought with us gifts and companions.